This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather Ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today, December the 8th, is a former NFL quarterback who played for 17 seasons in the NFL. And he was a fantastic player. He was mainly the Chargers star quarterback before heading for a final season with the Indianapolis Colts. And he's been the head football coach at a Catholic high school since 2021. He was not really a successful postseason quarterback and all that. He went to the postseason 7 times, but barely got to the conference finals. I think only twice in his career. I can't remember, once or twice. Anyway, he actually started every regular season game between 2006 and 2020. And then he retired. Second all-time in regular season, consecutive regular season starts by a quarterback behind the great Brett Favre. Anyway, he's a fantastic pitcher. And he did all that. Anyway, he's now 43 years old. His name is Phillip Rivers. Rivers was born in Decatur, Alabama, and had a father who was the head coach of the football team and his mother who was a teacher. As part of the 5th grade project, he had to make a poster about his dreams and aspirations. And on the poster, he pasted his face over that of a Minnesota Vikings player who was on Sports Illustrated. So anyway, he always wore number 17 in honor of his father and all that. Anyway, he was known as a prep passer. He had great offers from within Alabama, with the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers. But nobody thought he would be a starting quarterback. He actually decided to go to a school that wanted him to be a quarterback. And the first college to seriously recruit him as a quarterback was NC State, North Carolina State, known for having Russell Wilson for a season before he went to Wisconsin. Also for Roman Gabriel and who else came from NC State? I thought there was a quarterback in the 2000s that came from NC State. Nevertheless, he went to NC State and played for the football team. As a freshman in 2000, he helped NC State win 8 games and a win over Minnesota in the Micron PC Bowl, now commonly known as the Pop-Tarts Bowl in Orlando. Anyway, he had 4 massive comebacks with NC State. A double overtime win over Arkansas State. A drive against Indiana, that was a win. They were down against Duke by 3 points, but he helped them win. 3,054 yards and 25 touchdowns. He got it. Broke a lot of passing records. NC State had a good All-American quarterback, the first of his kind since Roman Gabriel back in the early 60s. As a sophomore, he put up only 2,500 yards and 16 touchdowns, which was weird. The Wolfpack did win 7 games and went to the Tangerine Bowl, while the Micron PC Bowl was renamed the Tangerine Bowl because of the .com bubble burst. Regardless, Pitt beat NC State in the Tangerine Bowl. But undeterred, he helped NC State win 9 games, started off 9-0, which led them to be number 10 in the AP poll, the best in school history, but they lost 3 straight games. Fortunately, though, NC State beat Florida State to get to 10 wins. They were 10-3. They still got an invitation to play in the Gator Bowl, which is a big game in Jacksonville, played traditionally on New Year's Day. And NC State would face Notre Dame. And he put up a fantastic performance as NC State beat Notre Dame 28-6. And in 2003, as a senior, he put up 4,400 plus passing yards, 34 touchdowns in 12 games, one of the most productive quarterbacks in ACC history at the time. And in 2003, he helped NC State out. He threw for 300 yards plus 8 times and 400 yards 4 times. He led the ACC in passing attempts, completion yards, and TDs. NC State won 7 games and went to the Tangerine Bowl against Kansas and helped NC State crush Kansas into fine powder, throwing for 5 touchdowns. He finished 7th in Heisman voting. He had a lot of legacies and shattering a lot of NC State and ACC passing records. He had 51 consecutive starts, which was an NCAA record at the time. I think Bo Nix has that record now. So anyhow, NC State went to 4 straight bowl games with Rivers. That he never failed to lead NC State to a bowl game. He was second in passing yards at 13,484 yards when he left, but now he's 13th. He's got 95 touchdown passes, and his number 17 was retired before the final home game. Rivers was projected to be an early first-round pick in the 2004 draft, but questions were raised of his lack of arm strength and his sidearm throwing motion was concerned. Nevertheless, Pittsburgh was projected to get him 11th overall. The number 1 pick would be Eli Manning. Everyone agreed. He came from Ole Miss. He came from a great pedigree, with his father Archie being a starter for Ole Miss and his brother Peyton going to Tennessee to carve out his career and stay away from the shadow. But unfortunately, Eli didn't want to go to San Diego. He didn't like the culture there. And even though that it happened, the Chargers still drafted him 1st overall. Nevertheless, Eli would be in San Diego, but he didn't want to go there. Anyway, the Giants actually were up 4th and decided to take Phillip Rivers. So this was a huge move that the Giants would take Phillip Rivers. But they kind of did it for the want of Eli Manning. So in a preordained deal, the Chargers and Giants would swap their quarterback picks. The Chargers would give Eli to the Giants, and the Giants would give Phillip to the Chargers. Plus, draft picks that the Chargers used for Sean Merriman and Nate Kading. So that actually worked out. Regardless of that, it's one of the most prolific win-win trades in NFL history that both sides ended up winners in this trade, especially the Chargers. I mean, making those 2 big moves with Giants picks and get Merriman and Kading. Rivers was one of 17 quarterbacks in the 2004 NFL draft. Alongside Eli Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger, he really had a great career and all that. Nevertheless, between the 3 of them, Eli, Ben, and Phillip, he has the most touchdowns, he has the best completion percentage, best TD interception ratio, best passer rating, and Pro Bowl honors. Also passing yards and completions. So at least he can stick out his tongue and say, on that. So the Chargers signed him to a 6-year, $40 million deal. Drew Brees would be the starter for the Chargers. Rivers would actually be 3rd on the depth chart behind even Doug Flutie, who was still around for some reason, and ahead of Cleo Lemon, who then decided to head to the CFL with the Argos. Regardless of that, Rivers had to stay on the bench as Drew Brees was going to come back player of the year and help the Chargers out. Rivers did get a couple of games and would play the second half of the final game of 2004 because the Chargers clinched home field and the AFC West division title, so they decided to give Rivers a chance. However, the Chargers would choke at home to the New York Jets as Keating would bobble field goals. I think it was him. Can't remember. Well, anyway, 2005, he was put 2nd on the depth chart behind Brees after Flutie was released. Rivers could not be the starting quarterback and all of that. In the final game of the 2005 season, Rivers entered the game, passing for 12 for 115 yards and a pick, losing to Denver. But nevertheless, Rivers did lead the Chargers to their only scoring drive. However, before the 2006 season, things were big in Charger Town because Drew Brees was not re-signed. The Chargers were worried about his injury that was suffered in the final game. Brees's was. So Brees decided to sign with the New Orleans Saints that had sizable guaranteed money. Well, the Saints needed a quarterback and they needed something to help their city heal from Hurricane Katrina. Nevertheless, Rivers was made to be the head quarterback. A lot of people said that Rivers' inexperience would hinder him. And expectations were high because of the whole Brees situation and also the fact that both Big Ben and Eli were starters on their teams. So anyway, his first NFL starting was against the Raiders on 9/11/2006. He was 8 for 11 as the Chargers routed the Raiders 27-7. Anyway, Rivers did help the Chargers take care of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the defending Super Bowl champions, by a score of 23-13 in Week 5, which was huge. All of that. After beating Denver, the Chargers became the first team in NFL history to win back-to-back road games after trailing by 17 or more points, and also the first team to win 4 straight despite allowing 27 points plus per game. Nevertheless, he led several fourth-quarter quarterbacks in 2006 and helped the Chargers win 14 games, tops in the AFC. But somehow, in some way, the Patriots won 24-21, as the Patriots kind of had a few rulings go their way, and this is coming from a Patriots fan. So regardless of that, the Patriots took down the Chargers. Norv Turner was made head coach after Schottenheimer was let go. The Chargers started off terribly, 1-3. However, they did win 11 games to win the AFC West. They took care of the Titans and Colts in the playoffs, which was shocking. They would go to the AFC title game, lose in New England 21-12. However, in the 2007 AFC game, championship game, there was something big. Rivers was actually injured. He played the entire game with a torn ACL. He needed surgery and was ranked among the NFL's top 10 gutsiest performance and all that. He came back for the 2008 season and helped lead the NFL in multiple categories, including touchdown passes for 34. Rivers led the Chargers to one of the most incredible in-season comebacks in history. Not by game, but in season. The Chargers were 4-8. They were terrible. But somehow, in some way, they won 4 straight to go to 8-8. And much more than that, they actually had to face the Denver Broncos with the AFC West on the line because the Chargers had the advantage over the Broncos. I think they head-to-head. They both were 8-8 at the end of it after Rivers threw a fantastic performance for the Chargers to beat the Broncos 52-21. So it was a big comeback for the Chargers and a big choke job by the Broncos. And the Chargers shocked everyone by beating the Colts in the wildcard round. And thanks to Darren Sproles' touchdown, well, the Chargers had home field because they were divisional winner. They won touchdown. But they lost to the Steelers in the divisional round. Rivers did good, throwing for over 300 yards. But the Chargers team didn't work out. Rivers would sign a 6-year extension, well worth it, and helped the Chargers win 13 games and the second seed in the AFC. Unfortunately, though, the Jets shocked them in the divisional round, 17-14. And I believe that was the year. Yeah, I think that was the year that the Jets would go into New England and beat them in the divisional round. Rivers in 2010 would lead the Chargers and the league in passing yards with over 4,700 yards. They missed the playoffs with only 9 wins. All that. The funny thing was in the 2010 season, he finally lost a game in December for the first time in his career. Anyway. The Chargers were decent and all that. The Chargers didn't make the playoffs in 2011, but they screwed the Raiders' playoff hopes after crushing the Raiders 38-26. In 2012, he would throw for over 3,600 yards, and it would be Rivers' first losing season since the Chargers only won 7 out of 16 games. A lot of people thought Rivers was in decline because he threw 35 interceptions in his previous 2 years. However, in a key game against the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2013 season, he helped them win the game and get the 6th seed. They beat the Bengals when the Bengals just couldn't win a playoff game to save their lives, 27-10. They would head to Denver and lose in the division round 24-17, but the AP named him Comeback Player of the Year. Rivers was helping the Chargers out, but then they choked in the final game of the season, which would have been huge because they win, you're in the playoffs. Still, he had 4,200 plus passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. He got another 4-year contract extension in 2015. But the Chargers were 4-12, pathetic. They couldn't even beat a divisional team, a team within their own division. Anyway, there were rumors that the Chargers were going to leave San Diego in before the 2015 season. But they decided to stay. Rivers did throw for 4,792 passing yards, which was second in the NFL, and almost broke Dan Fouts' passing mark. He missed by 11. So anyway, the 2016 season for the Chargers started weak and all that. The Chargers ended up winning 5 games, and then they decided to move to Los Angeles, playing in a soccer stadium for many years. The Chargers did win 9 games in 2017, but failed to make the playoffs, despite 4,500 yards. In 2018, they made the playoffs for the first time in 5 years, winning 12 games, and they would be the 5 seed because those pesky Chiefs, I think it was. Yeah, the Chiefs were that pesky. So the Chargers would have to head to Baltimore in the wild card round. But nevertheless, Rivers, despite a terrible passing yardage thing, actually beat the Ravens, got to the division round against my Pats, and fell by 13 points. In 2019, the Chargers were not doing that well. The team ended up winning 5 games, and in 2020, the Chargers and Rivers mutually agreed that he could go to free agency. So in February, he was released, and in late March, the Colts decided to sign him to a 1-year, $25 million deal. His first game with the Colts was against the Jaguars, in which he threw for 363 passing yards despite losing 27-20. And the fact of the matter for Phillip in that situation was that, this was COVID. Practically the season was affected by COVID restrictions and all that. Nevertheless, he helped the Colts come back from 24-7 down against the Bengals in Week 6 for a 31-27 win. During a game against the Packers, 1 week after he was became fifth on the passing yards list ahead of Dan Marino, he ruptured his plantar plate, which is within the bottom part of your foot. He would play through the remainder of the season with the injury, trying to be as gutsy as possible. He put up 4,169 passing yards, which made him tied with Tom Brady and Drew Brees for the second most 4,000-yard passing yards career ever with 12. The Colts would get to the wild card round against Buffalo, but lost 27-24. He never lost the wild card round. Nevertheless, he decided to retire and become head coach of a Catholic high school team in Fairhope, Alabama. So his career with the Chargers and Colts, he played 244 games, 134 wins as a starter, 63,440 passing yards, 421 touchdowns, 209 interceptions. In the playoffs, he was 5-7. He got to the conference finals in 2007, and I think that was the only time they got to the conference finals. 2,965 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He still holds the record for consecutive completions in a game, 25 in November 2018. He holds many Chargers records, passing yards, for wins, completions, attempts, yards, and touchdowns, beating the great Dan Fouts in many categories. He was named comeback player in 2013, passing touchdowns co-leader in 2008, 8-time Pro Bowler, the passing yards leader in 2010. So anyway, he married his junior high school sweetheart, who converted to Catholicism, and Phillip Rivers has 10 kids, 7 daughters and 3 sons, which was kind of shocking, all that. His oldest son is St. Michael's starting quarterback. So anyway, they're decent. They're a decent team, but it's high school football. Do we really need to care? Not so much. Anyhow, Jeff, I'm going to do.